Okay, hello, welcome everyone, welcome back. Thank you for putting this together and everyone for joining us on this very hot night. Just talking to an AC building is worth it. And also just to see me and talk about love, dating, relationships, you name it. I can talk about it. Actually, just on the way here, I was driving down. Driving down is the best time to get hold of me, by the way. You know, you got me and I'm trapped and I can answer phone calls. So there's a journalist, a Jewish guy who's a journalist for a number of papers, and he calls me up and he says, I have some dating questions, which I want to put in some article, you know. Can I ask you some questions? I said, sure, it's an old friend of mine, actually. So we were schmoozing and talking, and he said, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to dating, relationships, marriage, and all this kind of stuff right now? I was like, wow, you want to talk about it? I got a lot to say. So I did. But one thing that really stands out above everything else when it comes to dating relationships, and I think we mentioned it last week, I'll mention it again, and then we'll take questions, thoughts. We have a nice crowd of this. We can discuss whatever you want. Definitely with older singles, but really everyone, you know, emunah, having faith. If you want to find a time and a place to build your faith in Hashem, real emunah, love, dating, relationships, marriage. That's where it really gets going. That's where it kicks in. There's no coincidence. I think we mentioned last week, I forgot. I speak so much in so many places, I've forgotten. You know what? It's like fine wine. My jokes in Divrei Torah are repeated, but it gets better with age, my jokes. So Nachshon ben Aminadav, we mentioned that last week. He jumped into the water first. Remember this? We spoke about this. He jumped into the water and the sea split. The rabbis say this is a metaphor for a number of things. One of them is love, dating, relationships, and marriage. I actually spoke about this Monday night, actually, in Manhattan. And I asked why, and I got some very good answers, actually. First of all, it's a miracle. Just finding the person you're meant to be with is a nest. I was here in the right place. I met someone who just happened to be in the right place. If you really want to believe in miracles, try dating, you know? It's a miracle people still willing to date after all they've been through when it comes to relationships. Someone pointed out, well, maybe it's because, and I think this is mentioned somewhere, a young lady said very beautifully, that the sea split and then reconnected. And your neshama split, right? And then reconnects with your zivug. Isn't that a beautiful answer she gave me? I like that a lot. I said I was going to mention it in class. Can't remember her name, but it was a great Devar Torah. Also, you need faith. You need faith. You know, I'm of the opinion that anyone can get married. It's very easy. Just propose, put yourself on Facebook, take some flower petals, put them in the shape of a heart with a big sign, will you marry me? Which is making me sick, by the way. Right? But okay, we'll leave that aside. So getting married is easy. Making a party. Who doesn't know how to do that? Get yourself a party planner. Chalas. Right? You get the chicken. Right? Here in Great Neck, you get the kolbeh. Right? And then you get everything ready to go. A couple of gondis on the plate, a few ginger chickens, and what else is there? All the rest of it. And 4 colors of rice for some reason. People are like, you eat green rice? I mean, is it moldy? I'm like, no, that's actually the way it's made. And then what? And then you just get married. That's easy. Staying married, staying in a good, healthy relationship, I'm not convinced. Everyone can do it. My thinking has evolved on this. I used to think, everyone can get married and stay married if they work. I just believe some people are not capable of staying married. And part of what you're meant to be doing while you're dating, if we're going to talk about those kind of relationships, but this applies to all relationships, you know, is that trying to figure out, and this is the $1 million question, or actually nowadays, probably the $15 million question, and that is this person able to stay married? Trying to figure that out, that's a big question. There are signs. There are red flags, and there are positive signs you can look for and actually see with the help of someone else. That's another discussion which I did mention to this journalist. Everyone needs a dating coach and mentor. You cannot do it alone. Why do people think they could? You got a bad rash in your arm. No, let me go on Google, let me go to WebMD, and I'll just type in bad rash on arm. Who needs a doctor? I'll save the insurance, $50 copay, whatever it is nowadays, yeah? I'll be fine, right? I'll save some money, save some time, you know. What happens when you do that? Every rash is a death sentence. The last thing any person, specifically any Jew, wants to do is to go and try to get a diagnosis for the medical condition by just typing in the symptoms online, because everything leads to death, right? You know you have to go to a doctor. It's a given. You know, for example, if there's a problem with your car, you could go and try to figure out by going online, and some people can. But if you're like me, and every part of a car looks exactly the same, right? Or you're like most Jewish women, what kind of car do you drive? A blue one. It's not gonna work. You need to go to a car mechanic. Now you're gonna have a car for a certain amount of years, right? You're gonna have a problem with your body for a short amount of time. But when it comes to the rest of your life, you would just jump into any degree, you know, and we're like, whatever. You go for advice, figure it out, talk to admissions, talk to a professor, is this a school? It's the same thing when it comes to every relationship in life. And you need someone, even while you are married and in that relationship, to guide you through it. A person you have decided is going to be your point person. It doesn't have to be a rabbi, a rebbe, or a therapist. Anyone who's in a good, healthy marriage. Many rabbis just don't have time. They're just too busy. Everyone's too busy. Find someone who's in a good, healthy marriage, right, and try to find out they really are, because not everyone is. I had a conversation with a lady out of state today on WhatsApp video. And she says, Rabbi, I'm a really bad mother. I said, why would you say that? I know she's not. I made so many mistakes with my children. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. I said, you're not a bad mother. Rabbi, you're just saying that. I'm like, no, I really believe. Did you make mistakes as a mother when it came to bringing your kids? Yeah. I mean, every parent makes mistakes. Did you get angry with your kids when you shouldn't have? Yeah. Did you shout, scream, and do bad parenting? Hello? Like, hello? Me? We all do, right? I lost my temper with my wife last night and got shouting at her, right? And then she shut that down quickly enough. But we all right, make mistakes. That does not make you into a bad parent. As soon as you say, I'm a bad parent, and I'll bring it back to you in a second, you've blocked everything. You've stopped it. You stopped the conversation. It's like the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is, I'm guilty. I made mistakes. Right? Chatati peshata. I made mistakes. Hit your heart, right? Oh my goodness. I made mistakes. And there's room for improvement because I'm good, but what I did was bad. No, there's tons of that. That's good and healthy. That's charata. Charata. We all make mistakes. There's always room for improvement. Shame is, I'm a bad person. So irrelevant what I do, if I do good things, I'm bad. And most people are not bad. They just make mistakes. Some people really stupid mistakes. Okay? Feeling guilt is good and healthy. It's a catalyst for change. So in that sense, there are no real bad parents, just parents who make stupid mistakes. I mean, if you make them repeatedly, maybe you are a bad parent. Hi guys, welcome. Wow, here comes the crowd. We were here all along. You were looking for us, right? No problem. Grab a chair. This is our new spot. We saved a spot right for you over here. Come, gather round. I'll just catch you up for a moment. And what I'm going to say is, everything's going to be okay. That's the advice. So this lady could be like, I'm a bad parent. I'm like, no, you made stupid mistakes. But if as soon as I'm a bad parent, I'm a bad husband, I'm a bad wife, I'm a bad child, I'm a bad student. Once you say those words and you believe it, if you say you believe it, you've blocked yourself from any growth. And by the way, some people do want to block themselves and say that, because once you do say that, you are now free from improving yourself. You get the idea. And if all of life is about getting better at being me, as soon as you say, I am bad, I don't know, I'm stupid, what should I do? You've stopped any form of self-improvement. I'm making sense over here. Those who just walked in, no sense yet. But don't worry, we're going to get together. Do not worry, I'm here for you, my dear friends. Okay. So that's one thing I want to talk about, and that is this emunah principle. You know, we learn emunah about parnasah from the man, from the bread, the food that came from Shemayim in the desert for 40 years. That was the bread of faith, it's called. Why is it called the bread of faith? Food came out of the heavens. Where's the faith? Hello, I'm ready. Boom. Throw it in here. But you'll notice that when the man fell, it fell for how long? One day. Omer l'gulgolet. He had one amount of food per person, and if you took another one, or anything was left over, what happened? It melted and disappeared. Actually, as a side point, it turned into liquid. Little rivers of mud would go, and the animals would eat it. Then the non-Jewish nations would eat the animals. They ate the mud, and they could actually taste a little bit of it. So this is a miracle that got spread out throughout the people and the environs. That's a good trivia question. How do the non-Jews get to eat the man? Through the animals, they eat the food, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So where's the test? Where's the faith? Because you went to bed every single night, and the fridge, empty. The freezer, empty. Everyone had to wake up and be like, what are we going to eat today? We better pray for some more man, right? It better be there when I open my tent. Or we went to sleep that way, actually, because when we woke up, it was there ready for you, right? Nicely packed up in a nice little kufsa, a little box. Hi, welcome. Well, you know, I always do that. When people walk into a class, they always feel like left out. So I try to welcome people when they walk into the class. They're like, everyone's involved and I'm not. I wish someone would do that for me and walk into the airport. Whenever I walk to the airport, it's like everyone knows where they're going and walking around. And I'm like, it's just me and my suitcase. I feel very alone. I need someone to welcome me. When you walk into Gap or any other store, welcome. I'm like, you know, stay away from me. I'm not buying. Right? But that's something else. At least in the airport, give me a little bit of love. And so the faith principle of the man is a principle we need in our lives, especially when it comes to parnasah. Our ancestors went through 40 years of not knowing whether they were going to have food the next day. There are people who live this way. I mean, not us. We take out life insurance, right? We take out medical insurance. We save up for the future. The idea of not having anything in the bank account every time you go to bed and having nothing in your pockets is just too much. But there are people. They say the Chavetz Chaim would open his store every day. As soon as he had enough money for food for the rest of the day, he'd close the store and go back and learn and write books. Now that's a level of emunah which I'm not at. But it's good to know there's people out there who live like this. Emunah, faith, is not a goal line. It's different for everyone. Everyone needs to find their own faith. For Nachshon ben Aminadav, boop, first one into the water, psh, water splits, let's go. Yalla. As we say here in Great Neck, Bezamberin. Let's get out of here. Oh no, it's too wet. It wasn't too wet. It was beautiful and dry and fantastic, right? It takes, but then there was number 2 into the water, and there was number 5. In the end, they all went in. So we know that emunah is a central feature of every single Jew. And how do we know that? Because whoever left Mitzrayim had emunah. Just the fact they walked out. Because 80% did not leave Egypt. So Bokeh Yam, create Yam Suf, is the metaphor for dating and relationships and staying married. I was talking to a girl today who has a family member who's dating a non-Jewish person and they're not happy about it, you know? They want their kids to marry Jewish. And she says, you know what, but there's a part of me, a small amount, she's embarrassed to admit it, that thinks, you know what, maybe she'll never get married and she should be in this relationship, about this really bad relationship, irrespective of the intermarriage implications. And I said, you know, I know you feel guilty. Today I said this. I know you feel guilty. I have a lot of strange conversations with people, don't I? Now I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, my life is crazy. I said, I know you feel guilty about feeling this way, but you've got to look at these things via percentages. Listen to me very carefully. This is a really important principle. This could save your marriages, relationships, work, whatever it is. You could be 80% sure of something and still do it, even though 20% of your mind says you shouldn't. You could be 80% sure this is the person I need to marry, even maybe 60%. That's enough. Everyone's waiting for 100% clarity in every decision. There is no 100% clarity. Rabbi, how do I know? How do I know this is the real one? How am I meant to know? I have a crystal ball? What do you want from me? Hey, give me the tea leaves, I'll read them for you. Right? How do I know? You look at the evidence, 80%. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Imagine you're trying to score a goal. I'll give soccer as the analogy because, I'm British. What percentage of your chance of getting the ball in the goal? 80%. With how much effort do you kick the ball? 100%. Oh, we have a mismatch. Only 80% sure you're going to get it in, and you're going to use 80% effort. That will be the rationale, right? And the answer is, you can go into something 100%, even though you're only 80% sure you're going to end up with that required amount. Does that make sense to you? Don't wait for perfection. It's not there. I see guys and girls pushing off relationships, jobs, careers, because they're waiting for 100%. At some point, you just have to jump in. So I said to this girl, I know there's 20% of you nagging, saying, but maybe she should be in this terrible relationship, maybe she won't find someone else. I'm like, that's okay. It's okay don't try to remove it. Admit, there's that 20% that's there, hanging on, talking to me, because I have this inner voice. You know this inner voice always talking to you? Yeah, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, I shouldn't, right? 80% saying you should and can, that ain't as good enough. I'll tell you a secret. You're not going to like this. But when you first get married, it doesn't stop. Don't think you hit the chuppah and suddenly, oh, that's the end of that. We're in love forever. He's my Prince Charming. He's come with his big white steed. He jumps off the horse. He gives me a big kiss because I'm half asleep, which is illegal. And then everything's going to be great. It don't work that way, sisters. No. What happens is, you're 80% sure. Then you get married. And then some weeks, you're 70% sure. And I'll tell you a secret. Sometimes you're down to 50%. Once you get below 50%, we're in trouble. But at least 50%. You're like, well, how can I carry on? I'm only 50% sure I married the right person. I'm like, you still can. It comes and goes. People feel guilty, go into panic state. Now, listen, at some point, once you hit year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and you're still only 20, 30%, and then we've got trouble. But not being 100% all the time is okay. It's okay in a job, isn't it? You start a career, things get tough, you're in your first year of medical school, every medical student, whoever I spoke to, turns around in their first year, and they're being hazed by the doctors, and they'll be like, I've made a terrible, terrible mistake. I'm in the wrong career. I need a life. My friends are all hanging out, and I'm stuck in the hospital, right? Working 36-hour shifts. It's normal. It doesn't mean you have to quit straight away. And by the way, I wouldn't advise it. Could it be you're in the wrong? Could it be a person who gets married is in the wrong marriage? Could be. I'm not going to lie. It could well be. But when it comes to emunah, I put 100% of my faithfulness into this 80% chance. It doesn't sound very romantic, but standing under the chuppah, you don't need to be 100%. A lot of surprised faces, maybe some shock. That's okay. We had a hand up over here. Hi.
I have just a question. So are you
Jewish? Yes, I am.
Let's say someone's like in a relationship, like they're married and they're like having problems. Let's say, do you think they can always make it work, or do they have to get
It's a really, really good question. You're in a marriage, you're in a relationship, I'm having problems. So this is a big topic, which I didn't want to go through tonight, but there are red flags and there are deal breakers. Not every red flag, as I've said before many times, is a deal breaker. And the answer is, many times you just won't know. You need someone else to come in and advise you. That's when you need an advisor. Everyone needs an advisor. Oh, by the way, so this guy asked me something else. It's all coming out now. Here it comes. He said, what's the biggest challenge in relationships today? And I think I made a couple of jokes, but not appropriate. But I said one of the biggest challenges is communication. People do not know how to communicate. I don't mean talk. Oh, we can all talk. We can all talk complete garbage as well. But real communication, understanding, getting inside someone else's head, listening to them, terrible. Did our grandparents have this problem? I don't know, but they just stayed married. Maybe they didn't need to. Maybe times have changed. I don't know what was going on with my grandparents of the old country. Right? They got married, they didn't speak the same language. I don't know, my mother's from Israel, my father's from England. Right? What are they? They spoke the language of love. I don't know what that means even, but they did something. Now, problem, all right, I'm out. Right, you want quick fix? No, not every problem in a relationship means you should break up. Especially not once you've hit the chuppah. You better think, especially when you have kids. There's a whole lot of other stuff that's riding with this thing. I'm not saying that everything should be, lived with. There are some things, I'll talk straight to you. It's going to sound strange. But some people get married and realize the person they're actually with is bipolar. It's treatable. It's livable. There's medication. Then you have someone who's got borderline personality disorder. BPD. That's not good. That's already a decision. I don't know of any meds for that. That's very, very hard. And living with someone like that, they didn't pick up on, they always pick it up. They always say, I saw things while I was dating, but I just kind of glossed over it. But that, or narcissism, which you can always see, if you're really honest, and you don't let the love stuff coat it, because I fell in love, because you were so cute, and everyone saw us together, and that could be a big problem. Right? That's something you got to live with. I just read a story, actually, of a guy who started dating a girl and got married very quickly, and quickly he realized through the way she was acting and treating things, and that she had Asperger's. And he realized very early on, and he had to think about whether he had to stay married to her. He ended up staying married to her and dealing with all the problems that came with it. They basically on it's a form of autism, but they're functioning. Actually, they could be geniuses. Right? They're high functioning. They're not walking around banging their head against the wall. They know what's going on, right? But they just can't control many of they miss social cues. What was ironic, he said at the end of the article that one of his daughters had Asperger's too and reached marriage age. And you have to think to yourself, am I going to put some guy and not tell him? Because he wasn't told by his in-laws that she had Asperger's. He only realized when his in-laws came to pack her bag when they need to go on vacation. And he's like, what are you doing? He goes, we always pack our daughter's suitcase when we go on vacation. I'm like, she's a married woman. Why are you here packing a suitcase? Then you realize something's off. Imagine that as a telltale. It's like, what are you doing here? She says she's going away with you for a Shabbat. I made her pack the suit. So the parents knew. They always know. Right? So is that a deal breaker? Do you live with that? Do you tell the future husband and in-laws that this is what the kids are dealing with? This needs major professional help. Most people do not deal with this, but they deal with certain quirky things. Right? Things come up. That doesn't mean you need to tell. This is another thing. It's all coming out now. You don't need to tell your future husband or wife every single dating story you've ever been through. So let me tell you when I was 18. So I'm dating this guy, right? I'm dating this girl, and you should keep your mouth shut. Not every relationship needs to come. Not every bad thing you've ever done needs to come up in a marriage. If they find out, they find out. But you don't have to bring up every grisly detail, unless that has major implications for the rest of your life. Right? Like you have certain disease that comes up. That then needs to be told. Not on date one, by the way. Nice to meet you, and I should apply this cream and everything's good. You don't need to do that, but at some point you do. I'm not even kidding with you, by the way. The stuff people say on date one, TMI. Right? Come straight out with it. Keep your mouth shut. Give them a chance to know you, and then you can be, by the way, by the way, I'm completely insane. Give it a chance. Give it a chance to get to know you for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Kaylee, you wanted to ask me something.
Yeah. Isn't it just such a scary thought to be under the chuppah and be 80% sure that you are
I know it's scary. Yeah. You know, being under the chuppah is scary anyway. You don't need to be 100%. I know it sounds crazy. And some people are. And God bless them. I went to yeshiva. I had a friend of mine, actually, he's a good friend of mine from South. He's actually a big rapper in South Africa. I'm speaking to his students tomorrow. I'm speaking to a group of students in South Africa tomorrow, via Zoom, thank God. I have to fly out there. I'm being paid less because of that, by the way, as a side point. But anyway, and he got married. We shared a room together in yeshiva. I was dating for years. I got married at 22, then I came 23, and 24, and 25, and then 26, and 27, right? And he got married first girl. And he was 100% sure. I was like, how do you do that? That's his mazal. By the way, as soon as he left the room and got married, I was like, maybe it's the bed. I actually changed beds, I thought maybe that was the missing piece for me over there. It wasn't. Okay? It is scary. And that's okay. As I tell my son, who just went away for the first time to sleepaway camp, he goes, I'm scared. I said, okay. Be scared. Do it anyway. No, don't be scared. The kid's scared. What are you going to say? Don't be scared. Oh, no, I'm not scared anymore. What the heck? It doesn't work that way. Don't be scared. I am scared. Don't be. Well, give me a reason why. It's like, they say take drugs. These kids taking drugs. The worst thing that ever happened in the drug campaign world is Just Say No. Remember that campaign? When I was a kid, that was a big Just Say No campaign. Did you ever hear about this? In the 1980s, there was a big anti-drug campaign, Just Say No to Drugs. You turn around to a 15-year-old kid, just say no to drugs. And he's like, well, why? Like, I don't know, just don't take them. Well, it failed miserably. Miserably. Why? Give me a reason why. Tell me why. I'm scared. Tell me why you're scared. Let's talk about it. And it could be you're going to remain scared until you get there. Right? I mean, I remember my sleepaway camp experience, thinking about it. I drove down there, I was like 11, 12 years old, whatever it was. I remember being really homesick on the because I'm the baby of the family. I was very mothered, real Sephardi mother, really was on me. I didn't want to show my friends. I was like, Then I got off the bus. I'm like, wait a minute. My parents aren't here. It's co-ed. I can do whatever I want. What the heck? I'm not homesick. I'm sick of home. This is amazing. I never got homesick ever again, I didn't tell my son that, by the way. So. Plus, his camp, thank God, is not co-ed. It is scary. It is scary. This is where faith begins. By the way, Judaism, this is what Judaism is all about. Right? We don't talk about it, right? For some reason, they do not discuss these shivot. Having faith in God. Sounds weird, right? You gotta have faith. Emunah. They never discuss. I went to very religious shiva, never talked about emunah at all. Right? It was Gemara. If you're lucky, Tanakh. Right? Do mitzvot. And if you look at girls, you're going to die. I mean, that was basically it. That was my entire shiva, and I failed in pretty much all of them, right? It was the big challenge. This was the problem of the day. But that's easy. I've said to you before, Yom Kippur, you don't eat for 25 hours. I'm uncomfortable. Okay, but really believing in Hashem's going to help me in my situation? Woo! That's Kriyat Yam Suf. That's man. That's where, when there's no bank, a lot of religious Jews are freaking out over these things, and it's not even an age thing. My daughter, God bless her, started dating now. She's 20 years old, and she started freaking out. I say, you're 20. Now, her head, she's 80, right? I've been through everything, and this is it. I'm like, give it a chance. Give it a year, right? What are you going to say? Don't freak out. What am I going to say? Yeah, you know what I say? You went to yeshiva your entire life. You're a frum girl, frummer than me. I told you, my daughters think I'm a goy, right? I think I don't have any Yiras Shamayim, and all I do is speak Lashon Hara, and I'm terrible, and I'm late for minyan. I don't love enough Torah. They're always lecturing me, and I always point out, I pay for your yeshiva. Don't push it, kids. And I'm still paying for your shoes and clothing. So be very, very careful. I can ban you from Amazon. Make no mistake. And then what will Jeff Bezos be? Still a billionaire. This is where emunah is. I'm like, you go to yeshiva, this is emunah. This is where it begins. This is where belief in Hashem. This week, you don't need it for Yom Kippur. You don't need it for Shemitah. You don't even own a field in Israel. This is what it's all about. And this is where it begins. So no, you don't need to be 100%. Actually, maybe better you're not 100%. Maybe it's better you don't know 100%. How about that? Boom! Maybe there's always a little bit of doubt. I told you, that shows it's real. When a girl comes back from a date, oh, Rabbi, I met him and we were up all night and we were talking and he's just, oh my God, we have so much in common, right? We knew each other and I met his uncle on vacation a year ago, and we have the same psychiatrist and everything is just like, it's all aligning. You know what I think to myself? It ain't gonna happen. Forget about it. As they say when you leave Brooklyn, which I do when I leave Brooklyn. I was there on Sunday. I forget about it, thank God.
Why?
Because it can't get better. If everything is perfect, there is no room for improvement. But when they come back from a date, I'm like, how was it? They're like, I'm like, ooh, there's a chance. This could go long term. Who says everything has to be perfect? Do you think your grandmother was 100%? Do you think she stood at the chuppah? Oh, I found my zivug. Do you really think she said that? Exactly. Like a 12-year-old on the chuppah. Oh, I found my... Here's what she found. Oh, I found my... She's like, what the heck's this? I got to do what with him? I have to move into a house with him? You crazy? You just turned bar mitzvah. You're out of your mind. By the way, we joke about it. 17-year-old guy in our grandparents' age had more common sense and more Yiras Shamayim than the average 30-year-old today. And I'm being kind. I want to say 35, but I controlled myself. All right? They got no clue. I had no clue. I'm married, Baruch Hashem, 21 years. I still have no idea what I'm doing. I got no idea. I just tell my wife I love her. I annoy her all the time. She's always shouting at me. I just tell my daughters I love them. They look beautiful. No, I look ugly. I'm like, you're beautiful. I'm fat. I'm like, yo, buddy, you know the answer to that? I don't want to tell this to women. You can tell your husbands this. Does this make me look fat? I'm like, you're perfect just the way you are. I found out too late. But that actually is the answer to that famous question that every man for the past 3,500 years has been stuck with. I'm like, you're perfect just the way you are. Like, I tell the men that. So any men watching, that's the answer. You're welcome. Mabruk. You have another question over here? I like questions. Thoughts, questions? You can argue with me, Stop being so agreeable. Don't be so agreeable. You can disagree a little bit. I'm like, oh, very nice. Lovely, thank you, Rabbi, thank you, Rabbi. Then they leave. What's he talking about?
I actually have a question. So, I know that marriage and having kids is a mitzvah, and I don't know, I've heard that it's supposed to be it's something that people pray for, and your prayers are supposed to be answered, and everyone should have that. But there's certain people who let's say they're a lot older and maybe they don't end up getting married, but they put in the right efforts and they have emunah and they do all these things. So what's the answer to that?
Okay, that's a very fair question. People who seem to do everything right and it's not happening. I will start off by saying it's never too late. Okay, and you don't know what your mazal is. I told my sister this yesterday. My sister just celebrated her 18th wedding anniversary, Baruch Hashem. She's older than me. And she got married, quote unquote, late. Nearly 40. So this is public knowledge. And it was tough. She was dating some guy here and some guy there. I don't know how it happened. I was too young, I was part of a different kufa, to really appreciate what she's going through. But it was tough, I told her to go on JD. JD was the big thing back then. There was nothing else. This was, going back 20 years. Is it still around even? I don't know if it's around now. Whatever.
I think so.
You think so, right? So anyway, so she went on, thank you. So she went on, and she happened to find a guy, and who I actually call my favorite Jew, because he's married to my sister, and he's 4 years younger than her. Baruch Hashem, he's the nicest guy in the world. And she's nuts. I love you, Natalie, but you're crazy. Right? And Baruch Hashem. So you don't know what your mazal is. Who knows? And no one can answer that for you. But you can never give up. And who knows? When it happens, why it happens. Truth is, I know people who plan their life out and husband dies with them, chas v'chalila, and then they have to wait a long time and find someone. I'll tell you a great story. There's a guy I know lives in my old neighborhood, and he went on a date with a girl. And during the date, he went on the first date, and she didn't want to see him again. And he said to Shadchan, why would she not see me again? He said, well, she fell over on the date, and in a very awkward way, and she exposed part of herself, nothing crazy, and she was so embarrassed she just couldn't see him again. That's what happened. Nowadays, it'd be a reason to see them again, but back then, it was a reason not to see them again. She was very embarrassed. She just couldn't face him again. Very, very religious girl. It was just too much. And they went their separate ways. And they dated for years and years. And then years later, he was suggested, goes out with this girl, and they're talking and schmoozing, you know? It's like, talking like 15, 20 years later. Crazy like that. And while I was dating, she was like, oh, let me tell you a story about a date I went on. And she goes, I was so young and foolish, I fell over, and and she didn't realize this was the guy. And they, 1-2 dates, they're like, this is it, got married. Who knows? Who knows how a person, maybe you could say, oh, we should get married then, but maybe that wasn't the time. Everything's got its time, it's zman. And the word zman is also zimun, it's prepared for you. Zman zimun, time is prepared for you. It's the same lashon. Because who knows when the time is, and who knows what a person has to go through. And who knows, someone has to wait a long time. I know a guy got married very old, and he married a very, very young girl. Not so weird in this community, but in many communities. And then he got sick, and she ended up taking care of him. So, you can't give up.
So let's say it like doesn't happen for someone in this lifetime. Is it because they're not?
We
putting in the
believe
right
that there
effort?
is someone for everyone. We do believe that. And if someone does not end up finding their b'shat, I don't know. Then they can ask Hashem ad meh ve'esrim. But you can't stop. No matter what you're dealing with, no matter what handicap you have. I have a very close friend who's in a wheelchair, you know, and we've set him up and he came to my house, you know, and who knows why have persons go through that, or challenges, or mental challenges, or social challenges, right? I mean, everyone's nuts, you should realize that at this point, right? We're all crazy. And yet, as my grandmother would say, a lot of wisdom, every pot has its lid. Right? I'm sure there's another, you know, Yiddish.
Does that mean every person's going to end up with who they're meant to be, or?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. People can end up with people they're not meant to be with. Could a person miss out on the zivug? Yes, they can. We know Esav did. Esav was meant to marry Leah, and Yaakov was meant to marry Rachel. Esav said, I'm not interested, I want to marry outside the family. And Yaakov had to marry 2 sisters, which by the way is Asur. Well, the Torah hadn't been given yet, so he was allowed to do it. But could a person miss out on their zivug? I guess it's possible.
But then was that really his zivug?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. That was his zivug and he missed out on it. It's like saying, a person, I have $1 million for you, it's in a bank account. Are you meant to have it? Yes. If you don't go out to the bank and get it out, you won't have it. It's still yours. It's got your name on it. All right? What's your name? What? Rochelle. So there, Rochelle's a bank got $1 million on it. That's not enough to get you excited, I know. It's 2021. $10 million, right? But does that mean it's yours? Yeah, it's yours. But you have to go get it. You got to press the right numbers to get it out. You got to bring your driving license. You have to open the account to get the money out. Just something's waiting for you and you deserve it, and it's in your mazal, doesn't mean you're going to get it. You got to pray to Hashem, open it up. You got to do your ishtarlut. You got to make your effort.
So did Esav get married or no?
Yeah, he did.
To the wrong person?
Correct.
And they stayed together?
Yes, as far as we know. I mean, I don't really care, but yeah.
It's so random, but was Esther meant to be
Val asking a random question? I can't even believe it. Does it make sense to any of you here? Yes, Val, what's your random question?
It's so random. Was Esther meant to be with Achashverosh, or like
Wow.
did her
That's
mission,
not random. That's a great
did her mission
question.
in life supersede who she's supposed to end up with?
Now that's a great question, actually. It's not random at all. There's a big discussion on that in the Poskim. And as we get nearer to Purim, we'll discuss that. Her zivug was Mordechai. And she had to give that up in order to save the Jewish people.
And she knew she was giving it up?
Oh, she knew. She didn't want to. V'tel lakach Esther, taken against her will. taken against her will. She did not want to, but then she realized this is her mission. And she stayed miserable her entire life.
So was marriage.
And she stayed married to him, by the way, after the whole Purim story. When you finish Megillah, you go home and get drunk and go out food. She gave it, that's her real heroism, is that she gave it up for the rest of her life.
And did Mordechai get married or no?
Didn't stay married to her. According to the opinions that he was married to her.
So is marriage just about fulfilling that mitzvah, or finding like the person you're meant to be with? This.
That's a good question. Is married about fulfilling the mitzvah, or get married to the right person? It's a bit of both, actually. It is a mitzvah, but the schar you get is continual. The reward is continual, and it goes on. Yeah.
What is a zivug? Like, it's just for your like a perfect person.
Great. What is?
Satisfy your own life.
Yeah.
Like,
What is a
for
soulmate?
yourself?
I tell you the mistake everyone seems to make. They think a soulmate is the person who's going to make me happy all the time, who's going to love me, like a Labrador. They're lovely dogs, right? I gave a class in Manhattan last night. Someone actually had a guide dog in training. Oh, what a gorgeous creature this was, right? That's what they want. Happy, wagging their tail, right? Is that what a zivug is? No. A zivug is the person who's going to help you become the best version of yourself. Even when they're upset and angry at you, which my wife was with me last night. And I got to remember, this is part of what I need. At the moment, it didn't feel like it. Right? Don't worry, we're madly in love. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about me, Baruch. Yeah, but that's what it is. A zivug is the person who is going to help you become the best version of yourself. Not the person who's going to make you happy all the time. Not the person that you're going to help change and make them the best person of themselves, which they think, I'm perfect, right? So I'll give some of my perfection to him. Right? Because, hello. My mother always told me I'm absolutely fantastic. Actually, my mother didn't, by the way. When I was dating my wife, I took her to meet my mother, went to a trip to London. I said to my mother, she denies she ever said this, but she did say this. I'm like, do you think she's, for me? Do you think I should marry her? And she looked at me and she said, Lawrence, who wants to marry you anyway? I was like, that's a good point, actually, yeah. And why should I want to marry you? I was like, yeah, fair point, thanks. Yeah. We always think we're fantastic. I'm doing you a favor marrying you. Maybe they're doing you a favor marrying you. Maybe the other way around. We don't think of it that way, do we? Because we're fantastic, right? You're not. You're really, really not. That's what a zivug is. You want the rabbi, Lawrence, has your definition of a soulmate. It's not the person who's going to make you happy. Could a person divorce their soulmate? Yeah, they can. Doesn't make sense. You found your soulmate, all that time, and it's possible. Now you're going to have to work hard and really give up on a lot of advice, help, and really mess up. But it's possible. Yeah.
And there's only one person out there?
No. I don't believe so. No. I've heard different versions of this. Some say 2. Gemara says 2. Some say 7. Some say 10. I think Baba Shravi said 10. Depends where you are in your life. Is there one job? Is there one company that's perfect for everyone? No. Depends where you are, what you're going after, where you put yourself in the time, who you can deal with. No. I'm tempted to talk about in-laws right now, but I control myself because I don't want to turn you off marriage, right? But relationships and dealing with the rest of the family. There's a lot going on with that.
But if you divorce your soulmate, how could Hashem let that happen? If it's like your soulmate.
Because Hashem gives you free will. Hashem didn't let it happen. It meant that you didn't take the necessary steps to stay married. Assuming this is your soulmate. And you didn't get married to the wrong person in the first place.
So your free will can mess things up?
Yep. Oh, my free will's messed up a lot of things in my life.
But
Would you like to know? Here, I'll get mine here. We're down to page 45 of the stupid free will decisions I've made.
But I feel like I'll talk to you after.
I know you will. Yeah. Yeah, you can mess up. And it's understandable. It's understandable. All right? I've spoken about it in Great Neck before, and I'll talk about it again. Not every red flag is a deal breaker. Right? I have a girl who spoke to me recently who said that the guy she's dating right now, his mother is manic depressive and just basically a completely crazy woman. I told her that's very, very bad, because this is the woman you're going to call mummy for the rest of your life. This is your imma. You get to choose your own mother. Isn't that crazy? You get to choose your mother. Who would you choose? Think about that. Because that's the person who brought up your future husband. You better think about that. I happen to be against it, and she went against me and is still with this guy, and God willing, it should work out. You know? She put down some good boundaries. But, you don't marry a person, you marry a family. Unless you be like Achashverosh and she's an orphan, which is part of her success. The fact that she was an orphan, that's actually why she was chosen for the job. As a side point, that's why Esther I'm talking about. That's why she was so successful. Well, first of all, she didn't have to deal with all the mistakes of Kibbud Avim. She was patur from all of those mistakes that we make when it comes to honoring our parents. Like my mistake today of not calling my mother, which I try to do every day and I forgot today. Don't worry, I'll hear about it tomorrow. Don't worry, my kapara will come tomorrow. Don't worry. Oh, you remember you have a mother, do you? And a father. Oh. About all the stuff your parents did to you, which annoy you, you're going to do to your kids. I would never embarrass my children in front of their friends. Oh, that's my hobby. That's nothing better than that. You got to be careful with that, by the way. Embarrassing kids in public is a very, very bad thing. Got to be very careful with that. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Hi. Sorry, someone at the back had their hand up first. I apologize. We'll come to you. I didn't ignore you. Yeah. Yes.
First one is, how do you know what's a red flag that's a deal breaker?
Yeah.
And how do you know that person is not for you?
Okay.
What things that they
Great. So maybe your two questions are one question. The question is, how do you know if what you're dealing with is deal breaker is enough? And the answer is, in many cases, you won't. The same way you don't know whether that rash is nothing or something serious on your arm. What makes you think you know? You should. Who are you? Not you. Right? Who is the person, right? 90, 20, 21. Oh, I know this is a deal breaker. How do you know? Do you know if this knee problem is a serious problem or just like a sprain? Okay, every Jew thinks they're a doctor and have an opinion on it. But the answer is you don't know. And therefore you need to seek outside advice. You need a reality check from elsewhere. You need someone to help you. And in many cases, it could be a real problem. I mean, I have a list of deal breakers if you want to hear them. All right? I got a list of them which are, but really, it's a list of red flags. And by the way, a red flag for you could be a deal breaker for someone else. Depends on your personality. Not the same for everyone. For someone, marrying into a family with a crazy mother-in-law is a deal breaker. For some people, they can handle it. They're like, I've got good boundaries. I don't get emotional. I'm a strong person. I'm able to deal with this. It's not the same for everyone. Not everyone can deal with that. Yeah? So it depends on the person. So if you're getting advice from your friends, and they're like, oh, marry him anyway. You're like, yeah, you can, but I can't. I know someone who should not get married to someone from a divorced family. Is that for everyone? No. But it could be for you. Oh, they need to marry someone. Yep. Doesn't have to be you. So it's not, you got to figure this stuff out. This is serious. This is the rest of your life. Right? A job you can change. Right? Where was it nowadays? It used to be like you stay in the same job, in our parents' generation, 30, 40 years, get a gold watch, right? And then you left the company. Now people are changing like 10 jobs every 2 years, like stupid like that. Right? Boop, boop, boop. It's affecting our relationships, by the way. Don't think this speeded up technology and stuff is not messing with our heads and affecting our relationships. Oh, it is. 1,000%. I think I mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. I went to a conference many years ago. One of my mentors was on the stage. It was a rabbinical conference, which I don't recommend. They're pretty boring, by the way, except the schmoozing in between lectures. But they had a dais at the end, and I was in the crowd. And they had doctors, psychiatrists, rabbis, and professionals up on the dais. I mentioned the story before. And someone said, what's the reason for the high divorce rates? And there was a rabbi doctor up there, and he lifted up a plastic cup and said, this is the reason for high divorce rates. I was like, what, plastic cups? Are you crazy? I thought he was taking his own meds. And he said, we've created a disposable culture. You finish drinking your cup, throw it away, get a new one. You know, I grew up, I had a pen, I got it for my bar mitzvah. That was like a big gift back then when I was a kid, right? You know, I used to get soap for Hanukkah. I think they were hinting, that's actually what we used to get. And it sounds crazy right now. But I got a pen for my mitzvah, right? It was, I think, the one with the, the white blob on top, which I thought was a Star of David. Mont Blanc, it wasn't, it's actually a peak, whatever. And I love this pen, I had a relation with my pen. I don't mean I was like, I love you, but you had a relation with a pen. If someone wanted to borrow it, I used to hold onto the cap so I would get it back. I had it for years, I felt. Now, what do I have, like a plastic pen? I finish it, throw it in some hotel, some seminar, I don't know. Came free with this magazine, use it up, throw it away, get a new one. Your iPhone breaks, you don't walk in 3 years later. Alex, it's my iPhone. How at 3 years old? I'm like, to fix it, 800. Buy a new one, 600. I mean, throw it away, get a new one. You know, when a piece of your car breaks, they don't fix your car. They remove the piece, put a new one in. Your pain breaks, throw away, get a new one. Your car breaks, throw away, get a new one. Your marriage breaks, throw it away, get a new one. Plastic cups, disposable culture. I always point out that in Judaism, we actually put sanctity into objects that we keep forever. Candlesticks. Suddenly, Torah, a physical object you can cherish and have a relationship with. Even non-holy ones, even like a paint. We've reached a point where everything is, whatever, you know. IKEA furniture, put it together, throw it away, you know. I'm always throwing it. Today I throw out furniture. I'm not even kidding with you. Yeah, throw it away. Next to my curb. If you want it, you can pick it up, by the way. Still usable. Just throw it away onto new furniture. It's affecting us. What you do with yourself and your body affects your relationships. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. No, we had a question over here first, hope you don't mind. Hi.
So I was just like, I wanted to go back to your crazy in-law.
Yeah, not my crazy
comment.
in-laws, just so you
I
know,
mean,
crazy
like,
in-laws,
no,
yeah.
not yours, but
Ooh,
like
they're not crazy.
the comment. And just like, are you like pushing away an opportunity, like if you really see a future with the guy?
Such a great question.
Yeah, but
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, even if you see a great future with a guy, or you think this is it, you could think to yourself potentially, I cannot deal with that family. That could be a deal breaker for some people. And yes, I have recommended people I don't tell people what to do, but I just point out to them that the guy may seem great, but just so you know, you'll be dealing with it the rest of your life, or as long as they're around. Admir Vesra. So you don't know. So yeah, potentially, it could be a deal breaker. Yeah, back there, someone. Hello.
Hi,
What's your name?
Isabel.
Isabel. What a nice name.
Thank you. I wanted to circle back to your emphasis on effective communication.
Yeah.
So, someone I know that's in a very healthy marriage, long marriage,
Healthy long marriage. Yeah.
beautiful marriage.
Yes.
She told me once, and it stuck with me because I have a mental battle about it. But she told me that whenever your husband gets home from work,
Yeah.
keep a cup of water next to you. And whenever you
When your husband comes home from work, keep a cup of water next to you, so you can throw it in his face when he walks in.
So that's what I initially thought, but no.
Oh, no. Okay, good.
So when you want to say something,
Yeah.
you sip on that water.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
But then
Wow.
it conflicts with what I find to be effective communication.
Which
It's
is?
speak about
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Do you swallow it? Literally, in your case with the water, do you swallow it?
or
You know, I have a rabbi, he actually passed away, Zech Tzaddik Rabbi Tauber. He would say he would come home hungry and irritated after the day. He was a very, very successful businessman, multi-millionaire, Holocaust survivor. By the way, you never know if you saw him or his house, just completely. Actually, he lost a lot of money. A lot of money. And you never saw the difference day before and day after. Can you believe that? I saw this man myself. You never knew he'd lost tens of millions of dollars, like in a very short amount of time. All right? So he would tell me he'd come home, and he had a wonderful Shalom Bayit. He would come home, and he would be hungry and irritated. He used to sit in the car, and first of all, he would have a little bit of cake he would always have with him, just so his sugar level was up, that he would get irritated by what was happening behind the doors, which invariably you are, you know. But he would put his hand on the mezuzah. And one of the reasons he would stop, and he put his hand on the mezuzah, and say, the mezuzah not there to protect me on me going out, it's there to protect me on what happens when I go inside. You know, I haven't touched my mezuzah in a while actually, I should remember to do that. Piss out the mezuzah. It's a great question. Do you swallow? Okay. There's no one answer, but I'll share the following with you. Not every challenge you're having in your marriage you need to dump on your husband or wife. Your husband or wife are not your therapist. Go and speak to a therapist. Go speak to a friend. People think, well, but you're my zivug. Therefore, I need to dump everything on you. Keep your mouth shut. Some things you discuss. Well, every time I am fearful about money, I need to dump it on my spouse, which for a man can happen 4 or 5 times a day. Right? So, don't. Or should keep it in. Find someone else to talk about it with. Right? But we know each other. We have to tell each other everything. But no, you don't. Right? You don't say to your wife, every time you look at a pretty girl, she's gorgeous. You gotta keep your mouth shut. You don't say, you know what? I need a stronger, bigger man. No. Right? Not everything we think, oh, we need to be diverse, but we're married now. We need to know everything about each other. Yeah. I'd close that door if I were you. Not everything does. And so if that what works for you, of swallowing a little bit and not revealing everything, yeah. But then again, there is a book out there, which I happen to like, called The Garden of Emunah, and they had a marriage one, Garden of Peace. I happen to like this book. But I have friends who weren't so in favor of it. The premise of the book is a true premise, based upon one idea, it's a chazal, that if there's a problem in your marriage, you're the cause of it, and you need to work on yourself. That's the entire premise. The only challenge, and one of the rabbis I have, a close friend of mine who's a therapist too, didn't like it because it didn't leave any room for negotiation. Right? If my wife's angry with me, it must mean I've done. But okay, if it's always me, then what am I talking about? I just go and work on myself. I go sit in a forest and meditate, which this book probably wants you to do anyway. Right? At some point there needs to be communication. That doesn't mean everything needs to be communicated. Right? This is a real serious point. I got to tell him everything. He needs to know every desire I have. Yeah.
So how do you know what needs to be communicated
And what doesn't? Yeah, you kind of figure that out. The stuff that triggers him, keep your mouth shut about. Right? Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get a knack for it, and sometimes you need to find someone and say, is this something I need to be, tell my wife, my husband about? Some things do need to be discussed with your spouse. And sometimes it will help. I can only make a blanket statement now. And the blanket statement is, not everything needs to be discussed, but some things you should. But one thing I do know for sure is, not every desire, every thought comes into your head. Right? It's called HMD, head-mouth disease. Not everything in here needs to come out of there. Right? This is the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that every rabbi dreads teaching. But I don't mind teaching it. The Mishnah Pirkei Avot says in the first chapter, Al tarbeh sicha im ha'isha be'ishto kal v'chol me'ishet chaveiro. That idea of not making too much sicha with your wife. Right? Now it grinds on us. I shouldn't talk to my wife. Don't talk too much to her or my husband. So they wanted to speak. First of all, sicha, right, is a certain type of talk, but it means don't overdo it. Not everything needs to be discussed. Right? And by the way, with your friend's wife, for sure there should be boundaries when it comes to that as well. Lack of boundaries with other women and men is a whole topic of itself. I've spoken for an hour already. I could go on for another 5. I have a million more things to tell you. But there needs to be a boundary when it comes to other people's wives and husbands. Many affairs all affairs don't begin with them, like in the movies, see each other and jump into bed together. Excuse me for saying so. Right? It's a little conversation over here, and a little bit loosening over there, and you're at work, a little bit extra. Right? It's always a slippery slope. So, watching your other female-male relationships, right, is highly recommended. There are some women I don't call by their first name. I know it sounds crazy. Married women, I do. And they appreciate that. I'll say, Mrs. Cohen, nice to see you. Right? And have some of my wife's friends are like, what do you call? I'm not 80, you know. You can call me, you know, Hadassah, but it's a boundary. I know today it sounds crazy. Right? You wouldn't call someone by their first name. It's a little bit of I'm keeping a little bit of distance. You have to know the person. There are friends' wives, so I do call by their first name because they just get irritated if I don't and they're upset. Just to know there's a little boundary that exists. It's good. It's healthy. Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't apologize for asking questions.
How do you like choose like a person to, like, you know how you were saying that
Yeah.
you shouldn't be going through this alone?
No, you should not go through this alone.
Like, how do you choose the person? Do they have to know you and
Yes,
your
they have to know you
partner?
very, very well.
What about your partner?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay.
No, they can know you well, understand what you're about. They can hear a description of them. If they meet with that person too, it could help. Invariably, they don't have to though. But you have to have someone you can open to and just talk honestly to. I have a friend of mine who's actually divorced, by the way, who I go to for advice. All right, and he talks straight to me. He's like, "What are you doing?" All right. He teaches me what not to do, by the way, because he did it. All right. So I mean that, but he knows me very, very well. And he's someone's going to give you that honest reality check. That's why I love Simon Cowell. One of the great gifts that Britain gave to America. They get up on stage, you know, there's people, I'm the best singer ever. Why? Because my mother told me. I always sang, and I'm the best dancer. And he's like, you stink. And everyone's like booing him. You should give him a kiss. He just saved you 20 years of your life trying to be a singer when you sing like a cat being tortured. What, are you crazy? Right? He's like the baddie. He's not the baddie, he's just being very honest. You want to sing? Sing like me. Into a bottle of shampoo in the shower. That's it. Get out of the shower, shut up. You need someone. Ideally, there's someone who's in a good, healthy relationship and a marriage. And I needed to go to that was me. I went to a female when I was single, a married woman who gave me advice when I needed certain things. That was my personality. I just needed a female advisor. Okay, I've spoken for an hour. This has been a long time, but it went quickly. Time flies when they're having fun. We'll stop over there. And we'll pick this up next week, I think. Then we may have to take a break or change the day because I have something coming up the week after. But thank you all for coming. What a wonderful crowd. Great to see you all. Thank you, guys. Thank you.